So today I'm talking about planning because, well, the week before that I talked about mindset and all the excuses that you shouldn't use if you want to be a success. Last week I talked about goals in the form of vision boards, outcomes, and destinations. So today I'm going to talk about plans because having a goal doesn't necessarily mean you're going to achieve it, okay? You have to take action in order to achieve the goal, and the right action or actions will determine how quickly or how long it takes you to achieve the desired outcome that you have. So I'm going to start off today. I've got a really kind of, I hope, Mom, if you're watching this, I love you. When I was a kid, Mom decided that it was time for my brother and I to see Washington, D.C. Now, he was, I think, just a freshman in high school, and I was in 7th grade maybe, so we were pretty young, but still old enough to appreciate the historical value of D.C. and what it all entails. But Mom is a planner. She is a plan it down to the last minute type planner. So let me tell you, the only input that she asked was, what places do you want to see while we're there? And so we did our little list, and there was overlap here and there. My brother wanted to go to Annapolis and see the Naval Academy because at the time he was thinking about trying to get in. And then there was Baltimore, which was on the way, and then of course Washington, D.C. Now, like I said, Mom was a meticulous planner. So when we started on this whirligig of fun, she had each day laid out to the point where we would be getting up at 6 or 6:30 and going and seeing all of these places and doing all of this stuff until 7, 8 o'clock at night. And as you can imagine, this was supposed to be a vacation as well. So about day 3 of this adventure called Washington, D.C., we all rebelled, okay? Not that we didn't love what we were doing, but we were just flat out tired. Okay, we would get, like I said, be getting up at 6:30 in order to be, have breakfast and be doing stuff by 7:30 so that, we didn't miss anything. And so we had one day where we just rebelled and said, okay, we're sleeping in today. And Mom's like, well, if we do that, then, we might not be able to do this, and this. And I've got it on here that tomorrow we're supposed to be. And, so we were a little hard on her, but, at the same time, we were kind of tired. And so we were like, okay, fine, we'll miss something. All right, but that's a plan, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about plans and planning and whatnot. But there's also a couple quotes I want to share with you first, okay? The first one is, I shared these in my Facebook pages, in my Facebook group as well, so you may have seen them there. The first one is, a dream written down becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action becomes reality. All right, so you can kind of see where I've been going with this series of videos when I talk about mindset and then goals, and now we're talking about planning. And then the second one is, and this is really the most important one, if the plan doesn't work, change the plan but not the goals. All right, so you may have a destination, an outcome in mind, and you think you've got it all set in your head on how you're going to make this happen, and something comes up, and the way that you're taking to get to this goal is suddenly no longer an option. So at that point in time, some people would say, okay, that's, this isn't working, I know, and give up on that goal, on that dream. And it's an excuse. It's a road bump, it's a wall. Walls can, road bumps, you get over them. Walls, you go over them, you go around them, you go through them. But if it was important enough for you to write it down and say that you wanted to achieve this goal, then it's important enough for you to figure out how to get there as well. So here's what you do. All right, so last week I asked you to write down your goals, all right, your results, your outcomes, however you want to phrase it. I had you write it down. The week before that was your why. Now, for each goal, you should have a separate why. Why do you want to make $2 million within the next 2 years? All right, and I'm focusing a bit on financial goals, because I'm a business consultant. That's what I do. So we're going to focus a little bit on the financial goals here, but keep in mind that what I'm teaching, what I'm saying here, is applicable to all the goals that you have written down, that you took the time to write down and put up someplace where you can see them every day. So this is important, and it's important to you, which means it's important to me to help you achieve them. So, and the plan is always, the plan is important, yes, but you've got to understand that plans, I'm retired military. Most plans don't last past first engagement. All right, but good plans take into account what might happen after that first engagement. And at the end of the day, you've still got a goal, a result, an outcome to achieve. So here's what we do. You have the plan, you have the goal, and then you have your intent, you have your why. And your why has to be so super bound up in your emotions and your passions that when you do hit a speed bump, and you're going to hit them, you're going to hit speed bumps. When you do hit that speed bump, you have the emotional strength and wherewithal to push through and still focus on achieving that result. All right, so I use goal, I use result, I use outcome, I use those interchangeably. It's the same thing. And then you have the plan. How am I going to do this? So that's your action. Okay, you have the plan, but the next part that I'm going to talk about is taking action. So you've got to figure out how to, dream, goal, plan, action, reality. That's how this happens. You have a dream, you write it down, it becomes a goal. You write down the task to achieve that goal, that's your plan. You have to take action to achieve that reality, that goal, and it becomes reality. Once you take these steps, it happens. But you have to take the steps. So, when I do plans, okay, and when I do planning and, military background, we had to have a plan for everything. It was almost to the point at one point in time where I thought we had to have a plan for, going to the bathroom in the field. Okay, so it's plans within plans within plans. But here's a way. Now, I'm not going to tell you there are so many ways to make a plan, but at the end of the day, it's step by step actions that you take to achieve that goal. Okay, or the actions that you believe you have to take to achieve that goal. What I like to do is, what we call backwards planning. All right, so you imagine the end result, that outcome already achieved. Okay, you've achieved it. So now you go back and you go back through the steps of, well, how did I achieve it? Well, in order to have achieved this outcome, I had to have done this. In order to do this, I had to do this. In order to do this, I had to do this. Until you get to where you are at the starting point. And therefore, and then you have a timeline of, well, I should say, I missed a step here. So you have the steps of all the things that you need to do to achieve that goal. So now what you need to do is take those steps and put them on a timeline. And this is where you know yourself. You know yourself. You know what you can and can't do. Or I'm not even going to say can't do. You know what you can do. And you know what you will do. So now it's a matter of, I have this goal that I want to achieve by this time. And I have all of these steps, these tasks that I have to do in order to achieve that goal. So now I know the end time, I know the start time, so now we need to put those on a timeline. And what you will find is the first time you try to do this, you may find yourself being slow at first, okay? And that's fine. The point is that you continue to take the steps to achieve that goal, and suddenly along the way you find that maybe there were some steps or tasks that you didn't need to do, and that brings the timeline back into what you wanted it to be in the first place. But the fact of the matter is that in order to achieve an outcome, a goal, an end state, a result, you have to figure out the steps that you absolutely have to take. And so the only way to do that is to write down every step that you think you have to take. Every one of them, no matter how long it is, no matter how many steps there are, that's what you need to do. Write down the steps, write down everything that you think you need to do to achieve that goal. And then what you find is you put it on a timeline, and you go back through it and you review it on a daily basis. You review it, and then you check off the ones that you achieved. And sometimes what you find is some of those things that you thought that you had to do, you don't have to, and that's fine. But at least you thought about it and you wrote it down, and it didn't blindside you. Now, are there going to be occasions where you get blindsided by something? Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is if you write down everything, then chances are you're not going to miss very much. And here's the thing, we call this, we call this branches and sequels. And what I mean by that is sometimes on the way to meet this goal, you find that you get to this task here, and all of a sudden you have to do something else that you didn't anticipate, or something else comes up that you didn't anticipate, and it kind of branches off that timeline a little bit, but it's still moving along in that direction. So that will be a branch. We have a saying in the Army, in the military, the enemy gets the vote. Okay, is this going to be a real person? No. Or maybe. The fact of the matter is you can have the best laid plan, and you will find that somewhere along that plan, it's not going to go the way you think it should, and you have to be able to adapt to that. So that's why I say think of all the things that could possibly go wrong while you're working towards achieving this end state, this goal, and then try to plan accordingly. So what that means is say you have an intent to make $2 million in the next 2 years, and part of your plan means that by the 6th month point you need to be making X amount of dollars, or you need to have X amount of dollars saved up, but all of a sudden you have a family member or a personal emergency that involves someone going to the hospital, car repairs, a major storm tears apart your house, and you have to pay the deductible on that. All of these little things that happen just as a matter of life. Well, you didn't anticipate that, and so now you get set back a little bit, and you didn't make this X amount of dollars by this point because you had to spend X amount of dollars. So how do you prevent that from happening? Because it's a possibility. So that's why you have an emergency fund set aside. And maybe instead of having X amount of dollars made by this point, you have to have a little bit more saved up so that you have enough for that emergency fund. And so part of the plan now includes putting money each month, each week, or whenever you get paid into that emergency fund so that you can stay on track to meet that goal of having $2 million in 2 years. So that's the branches that we talk about when we talk about planning. Now, the sequels. The sequels are even better because once you meet that goal, what are you going to do next? What's the next step? So maybe you achieve that goal of 2 million and maybe instead of 2 years, you did it in a year and a half. So that's why you have all these other goals written down. Okay, well, I had here that I wanted to have $2 million within the next 2 years. I did it in 18 months. What was next on my goals, on my dreams? Can I now do a personal development? Can I now have a little extra money so that I can go and maybe see Tony Robbins live, or go on this trip now instead of when I was thinking about doing it, 2 years from now? So what's the next step? What are you going to do after you meet that goal? Because it doesn't just stop. So you can have a goals and plans set out from now until the end of time, but you need to prioritize and put the important ones there first. What's the most important thing that you want to do? If it's not financial, and it doesn't have to be, you could have a personal development goal where you want to learn how to play the piano in the next 2 years. Okay, so what are you going to do to learn how to play the piano? Well, okay, you got to buy a piano if you don't already have one. Then you've got to figure out how to pay for lessons, so you've got to do research on how much piano lessons cost. Are you going to be staying in the same place for the next 2 years? Do you know that for sure? And all of these things you need to think about. So just because you have this goal of $2 million, okay, well, $2 million means that not only do I need to be saving money or planning for that $2 million, but I'm actually going to have to plan for more than $2 million because I've got bills to pay. Okay, I have a house, mortgage payments, I have car payments, maybe you have some credit cards, food. You need food in the pantry, clothes on your back. Hey, if one of your goals was to lose weight, guess what? You're going to have to be able to save money to buy new clothes because the old ones are too big. So that's why I say planning is pretty important when you think about all of the important things that you want to do. Take time and plan it out. And even if it takes writing every little little detail that you can possibly think of, at least you're thinking of it. And if you're thinking of it, then it gives your brain an opportunity to think of ways to make it happen or to make sure it doesn't happen in the case of things that could be setbacks. Well, you don't want the car to break down, so now you've got to so now you need a plan to have maintenance routinely done on the vehicle so that something doesn't all of a sudden blow up on it. So you've got that little owner's manual that tells you all the things that you need to be done and the time periods in which they need to be done. Make sure you do it. So that's part of the plan to get to that result of $2 million in 2 years. And that's just an example, guys. So whatever that specific goal is that you want to achieve, there's little things along the way that you need to make sure of. Okay, hospital visits, you can't really plan for that. You know, in the case of, I'm going to need surgery for this, and you know, because this broken bones, accidents, things like that. But the other aspect is you can take those preventative measures of, you know, routine doctor visits and physicals and health assessments in order to ensure that something that might have been caught early gets caught early and doesn't turn into a major catastrophe down the road. So there are things that you can plan for as far as preventative measures as part of that plan. So keep in mind that $2 million, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of thought processes that go into it. And you need to think of all of the things that could possibly, the things that you know step by step you absolutely need to do to achieve it. But then you need to think of all the things that could possibly go wrong and make sure they don't go wrong. And I'm going to leave you with this final. This is probably a short session today, but planning it is really a personal thing, and I'm giving you the thought processes that need to go through your head in order to achieve your goals. But the last thing is, and this goes back to my first video in this series, which was mindset. One of the things that I do throughout the week, and I've mentioned this before, is I like to go on YouTube, and I'll take, you know, an hour or so a day and watch videos by people that I admire and people who have really truly awesome insights. Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Carolina Mion, and so on and so forth. And I will, you know, randomly pick one of them, you know, one or two of them, and watch their videos. This morning, I was doing that, and I was trying to get myself into the mindset of what I wanted to talk about further as far as this planning thing that we sometimes don't do so great at. Grant Cardone, 5 minutes, said one of the most important things that I think that you guys need to hear, and that is be unreasonable. And what that means is don't make excuses. Don't accept excuses. You know the task that you need to do to achieve that goal. You know what you need to do to achieve that goal. You've written it out. You've discussed it. You've thought it through. You know what you need to do. So the example that I'm going to give you here is you have a task to see that this project or this part of a project is complete by the end of the day, and you are the supervisor. And the person who works under you is the person who is actually ultimately responsible for doing the actions to make that result occur. You're ultimately responsible, though, as a supervisor. So you send them an email reminding them of that. Maybe you call and leave a voicemail or whatever. At the end of the day, that task didn't get done. Why didn't it get done? Well, because you didn't follow up like you should have. You didn't make sure that that person who had to do it actually did it. And so you can say, but I sent them an email, but I left a voicemail. Well, did you actually have that interaction where they saw that email or they got that voicemail? Did you do the things that you needed to do to make sure that they did that task to get that result? So if you're not doing the things that you have to do, that you need to do to achieve that outcome, then it's on you, and there's no excuses. And so that's why he said, be unreasonable. If you want something bad enough, you will find a way to do it. Bottom line, if you want something bad enough, you will find a way to do it. And that plan is just your outline on how you're going to achieve that goal. So if that plan involves you starting your own online business and making sure that you're doing your advertising daily, or you're calling these people who signed up with your program and encouraging them and coaching and mentoring and teaching, then that's what you need to do. But keep that ultimate goal and your reason why you want to achieve that goal visible. Have it in writing, have it in pictures, put it where you can see it every day. Have those tasks lined out and ask yourself every day, have I done the things that I need to do to make sure that I achieve this outcome? And if the answer is no, then you need to get back to it and you need to do the things that you said that you need to do to achieve that goal. And that's your plan. So you have your goal, you have your plan, you have your tasks. Do your tasks, hold yourself accountable, and you will achieve whatever goal that you set for yourself. But it all goes together with your mindset, your goals, and your plan. After the plan, it's action. Take massive action, because you can have the best plan in the world to achieve that goal that you said is very important to you, but if you don't actually do the steps, the actions that you need to take in order to achieve it, it's just writing on a piece of paper. So take action once you have your plan. Have a great day. If you have any questions, let me know. Comments, let me know. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about, let me know. Now, next week, I'm going to be talking, okay, I'm going to apologize. I wrote it down, but I can't find it right now. So I will find it. I will put in the comments what I'm going to be talking about next week. I hope you tune in. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a great week.